Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elias Ribeiro. I'm a Brazilian-born film producer who's based in South Africa for the last 10 years. I made a very controversial film called The Wound that was in competition in Sundance in 2017. It opened Berlinale Panorama, and it went to win 28 international awards and made it to the foreign language Oscars race, the shortlist of 9 final films. Thank you so much, GLAAD and OUTFEST, for hosting us here at Queer House at Virtual Main Street at Sundance. I wish we were having this conversation in person in Park City. It's my great pleasure to welcome the speakers in this panel, artists, queer artists who are based all over the global South. And I'm going to start by introducing Maya Salon Hamoud, who was born in Budapest to Palestinian parents, relocated soon after to Israel. In 2004, she was introduced to cinema by an animator friend, and she joined the Mishra School of Art in Tel Aviv to study film, where she developed the idea for her first film, Ba Bahar, In Between. The film won several awards, including the Nat Park Award for World or International Asian Film Premiere at the 2016 Toronto International Film Festival. In 2017, Hamoud was awarded the Woman in Motion Young Talents Award at the Cannes Film Festival. Maya Salon, will you please wave to our audience? Thank you. Uyayedu Ikpe-Ektim is a feminist filmmaker, screenwriter, and a script consultant. She's a co-founder at Hashtag Media House. She's passionate about how oppressed and marginalized groups are perceived and represented in the media. Uyayedu is committed to including themes and subjects that center these groups and their stories, with a detailed understanding of the power of storytelling. She's focused on using that power to create increased representation for sexual and gender minorities in Nigeria. Uyayedu, would you please wave to our audience? Thank you. Last but not least, I have here Sveta Rangayan. He wears many caps. Of a filmmaker, writer, activist, and festival director, he has consistently strived to give a voice to social issues in India through his films, writing, and public speaking for over 2 decades. His award-winning films present hard-hitting social issues with warmth, compassion, and humor. And they are at the forefront of India's emergent queer cinema movement. He's the founder and festival director of Kashish Mumbai International Queer Film Festival, South Asia's biggest LGBTQIA+ film festival. He has served on the jury of several leading film festivals such as Berlin, OUTFEST, Iris Prize, Mardi Gras, Image Plus Nation, and Movies That Matter. We might be joined later by Parvez Sharma, who is a New York-based Indian filmmaker, author, and journalist. He is a recipient of the 2018 Guggenheim Fellowship in Film and Video category. He received the 2009 GLAAD Media Award for Outstanding Documentary, amongst other international awards for A Jihad for Love. In 2016, Sharma was named a human rights defender by Amnesty International. Sridhar, I forgot to ask you to wave, so please say hi to our audience.
You waved, you didn't see that.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Maya Salon, I'm going to start with you. Could you tell us a little bit more about your film, In Between? What is the film about? And if you could tell us what it meant to you to tell that story with the privilege of time to reflect on the journey and how it was received by the audience, etc.
I just want to say one sentence about the bio, that between Netback Award at at Toronto 16 till Cannes Award at 17, it was a lot between all the festivals and awards that I'm so proud of them. So I just want to mention that. So about the movie, In Between, my first feature, it talks about 3 young women that share an apartment at in the center of Tel Aviv, and each one of them came from different background, with different position in her way of life, in her trip, I have to say also. And they get together to be in the end kind of one woman in three parts of different women, because Layla, which she's the lawyer, the secular, that she like burned the bridge between her and the society that she came from. All of them, of course, I mean, Palestinians that came from traditional society. And Salma is the DJ with actually the lesbian girl in the movie. And Layla and Salma are roommates when Noor, the religious girl, came to share a room with them also at this apartment, and all of them go together to like a revenge adventure.
How was the movie received in Israel? Did you have any issues with your personal security for telling that story?
Yes, the people of al-Fahim, it's a big Palestinian city in Israel. We are like, I am a Palestinian Israeli citizen. So the story of Noor in the movie, I don't think it's a spoiler. It's already out there. So she gets raped by her fiance, and both of them are from al-Fahim. And the people of al-Fahim took it like personally, as the story talking about them, and they couldn't make a difference between documentary and fiction when they deal with the response of the movie. And the mayor were talked about at the mosques, that the movie is forbidden. And at the end, they got with a lot of I say dark forces to get a fatwa about me, that I am kafir, like an unbeliever. And it was scary. It was scary at the beginning because my family was like at the north, and I live in Tel Aviv. I was living at Jaffa, but they they came to my parents' home, and they made it like throw it's not a bombs, but it's things like all that. And at the beginning, it was really like hard to think that maybe somebody around can get me, like, there is a lot of students from Faham at the Tel Aviv University, so I am in Tel Aviv. So a lot of thoughts, bad thoughts. But at the end, it was very good for the movie, because there is no bad publicity, as we all know, and all the people want to see what's going on, what happened in that movie, that all Fahim wants to kill that girl. I don't know. So the girls also.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to get some context for the audience about what is the situation in Israel. And I will start by sharing with you a little bit about the realities here in Africa. I was last year teaching a workshop in Uganda, And a journalist outed me to the organization that invited me there, saying that they were going to expose naive East Africans to the political views of this LGBTQI activist. And they flew me out immediately. And when I got home, my business partner was very distressed and telling me, did you know that they're trying to retable death penalty for homosexuals in Uganda? And that led to a research where I found out that 20 countries in Africa, we have no rights, we have no human rights. And 7 countries out of the 52, there's death penalty. So I think Israel is quite a progressive society when it comes to...
It's a dissonance, you know, because for the like publicity, it's like a gay-friendly place, and it's cool to be here. But in like the factor, in the real facts, the Jews, the religious Jews, rule all the, you know, any rules against like they couldn't. There's no rights really for all the gay community in all the different things that there is. They forbidden like it was before 3 years, a girl was killed, like a Jew girl was killed at Jerusalem during the proud, you know, march, and it's not really a gay friendly. It's not really like gives the rights and take care and all that. Like, see, this is just a Tel Avivian publicity for their, like, for the city.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I actually really that really resonates with me, because the reality I found in South Africa, and it was one of the biggest motivators for making The Wound, because I moved here very attracted by this progressive constitution that talked about equality, was one of the first countries in the continent that acknowledged gay marriage and all of that. But when I moved here, the reality I met on the ground was very different. Especially amongst the Black community, it's extremely homophobic. And it's known, like it's believed that being gay is un-African. It's something that was brought here by the West. Uyayedu, I was invited to come to Afrif last year to speak about Realness, which is a screenwriter's residency that we do. And it was right after that incident in Uganda where I was sent home, and like 2 weeks later, and my visa to Nigeria got denied. So I ended up not coming to Lagos. And I started wondering if I was on some sort of blacklist. So could you tell us a little bit about what is the situation in Nigeria? I understand that it's different in North Nigeria from it is in the rest of the country. I think there's a different set of laws. That's something that I came across when I was doing that research about which countries we had human rights, and I found that information on the Amnesty International website. Can you tell us a little bit about being queer and Nigerian?
Very much like other African countries, Nigeria is extremely homophobic. And like what you just mentioned about the North. So the North has had a different set of laws for a while concerning homosexuals, right? And it was easy to be removed from that reality if you were not living in the North. However, the rest of the country then went ahead and signed into law the Same-Sex Prohibition Act in 2014. And so that sort of gave people, for lack of a better word, the audacity to be more openly homophobic, right? Because not only did they misinterpret the law, everyone just took it as, oh, homosexuality, you get 14 years. And so everyone was became very open about their homophobia, and they feel very righteous and right in doing that. So from social media to the streets to, you can't, as a homosexual person, you can't express love openly, because this is criminalized, right? To express love openly, express love in public places. So these are the things that we have to live with here. Of course, many people are sort of fighting against that and just daring to live more openly, especially on social media. And of course, that opens you up to bullying and homophobia on the internet. But everyone has something to say about it.
And
So yeah,
how do you say that this impacts the choices you make on the material that you decide to talk about through your work? And
okay, so
are you safe?
okay, so I recently wrote and directed a film called Ife. Ife is the first film that features queer characters in a positive, normal light, right? And this film came out towards the end of last year. And making that film was, in the process of making the film, I didn't exactly think that what I was doing was revolutionary or brave or anything like that. Myself and the executive producers were just committed to telling that kind of story, right? Because every time the queer characters are portrayed in Nigerian films, it's always negatively. And so we wanted to tell an alternative story to that. And so, yeah, so we made that film. It's, there was backlash, right, on the internet, but what was more important to us was the joy and the excitement from the queer community in Nigeria to have a story like that made about them. So yeah.
And did you experience any personal security issues for making the film?
No, I didn't. And this is not to say that some kind of privilege exists, right? Because in every country or every society, the laws are harder on the poor. So of course I'm able to live in a secured estate where I can feel safe. But that's not usually the case for many queer people in Nigeria.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the privilege of having the Constitution on my side in South Africa because homosexuals do have rights in this country, and also the right to freedom of speech. And what happened with our film was it was classified by the Films and Publications Board. It was funded by the National Film and Video Foundation, by the Department of Trade and Industry. It was a very legitimately made film. And after winning however many awards and being on that short list, the Prosa King interjected and summoned us to a screening to explain ourselves. And also put pressure on the FPB to reclassify the film as XXX, which meant that this award-winning piece could only see in a porn cinema now. And we took them to court, and because of the very contemporary constitution that South Africa has, we were able to overturn the Film and Publications Board and reclassify the film as it was 16 in the beginning. So even though we had thousands of death threats on social media and people knocking on our doors and throwing stones through the actors' windows, we were very guarded or very protected by the Constitution. And that gave us a leg to stand and fight for the film to exist. So I can't imagine putting myself in your shoes, taking this kind of risk where you're making work that can really get you into so much trouble. So well done for standing up for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sveta, I'm gonna move over to you all the way in India. And you seem to have been around the block a few times and are not only an artist yourself, but you're facilitating the exhibition of films to wider audiences. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your festival? How many editions has it had? What kind of audiences do you attract? And what is the raison d'être, the vision for the future?
Sure. It's great to be on this panel. Thank you, OUTFEST and GLAAD, for making this happen at Sundance. Basically, I started my filmmaking career in 2002, and that's when I made my first film called The Pink Mirror, which got banned immediately by the censor board. We have a censor board similar to your rating board, what we talked about. So they refused to give it a certification. But it went on to a lot of film festivals, and that began my journey as a queer filmmaker. And since then, I've done at least around 3 feature films and a couple of documentaries. So I've been traveling a lot with my films to film festivals around the world for the last 3 decades. And I just felt that like the kind of vibe I saw at film festivals where there's a sense of community building, especially in countries like Italy and when I went to a festival in China, there was a sense of community building. The festivals enabled a community to gather together. And that's something I wanted to bring across to our audiences in Mumbai, in India. So 2009, the Delhi High Court read down the Article Section 377, which criminalizes homosexuality, in India. So that's when we gathered strength and courage, saying that like we can do a film festival in a mainstream theater. Earlier, there have been film festivals which were held in colleges or consulates, more safe spaces, but we want to make a film festival in a mainstream space. So that's how Kashish was born in 2010 as the first mainstream LGBTQ film festival. So the first year was tough. Nobody wanted to give a theater to us, because they were thinking that like it'll be burned down or stoned or something. But we as professional, a group of people, we basically managed to get together resources and managed to say that we are very professional and managed to hold the festival. And it became a huge success in 2010. And the festival has been going on for the last 11 years. We're going to be doing the 12th edition in May. So the festival, we program around 160 to 170 films every year from around 45 to 50 countries. So it's pretty huge. This year, we're going to be having it a hybrid festival online and hopefully 2 days of on-ground festival. And we get around 2,000 individual members who register. But what is interesting is that 30% of these registered participants are non-LGBTQ community. So that basically fulfills the mission of what Kashish stands for, to basically be a celebration for the LGBTQ community to come and watch films on the big screen. But also for the mainstream society, non-LGBTQ society, to understand what queer lives are about. So Kashish has basically enabled I would say, synergy between the LGBT community and the non-LGBT community to mingle together and understand each other. I would say that like the non-LGBT community had a lot of misunderstanding about who are lesbians, who are transgender, what do gay men look like. So when they come to Kashish and they meet people, they realize that they're as normal as anybody else. And also the films they watch, they realize that like our lives are as normal as anybody else, except of course, whether it's because of the law or the religion, we are usually pushed underground. The festival becomes a bridge between the LGBT community and the non-LGBTQ community. And we have been managing to put up I would say, a decent show. I would like to reach out to a larger audience, obviously, with the festival. But still, in India, in 2018, finally, the Supreme Court decriminalized homosexuality. So right now, we are at a stage where we are much more happier that like we are not legally criminal anymore. But the fact that like the anti-discrimination law is not in place yet, same-sex marriage rights are far away. I've been living with my partner for 26 years already, but we don't have the right to marry each other or give each other's property to each other, or we don't have, we don't have right over each other's body. So these are things right now, India is poised at a very interesting juncture, but the fact that like we don't know where we are headed because we have a very right-wing government, very fundamental government at the center. So we don't know how it's going to play out. The same-sex marriage right petition is going to come up on February 25th. So we are hoping for the best, yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Sveta. Parvez, Nice to see you. Thank you for joining
I
us.
know, I'm wearing my dark glasses. I'm sorry, I just ran in. I was outside in the forest.
No problem. I've been warned that our time is running out, but I would like to give you the floor, Parvez, to share with us. You are an Indian storyteller based in New York, and I worked in Africa for the last decade, and I noticed that the artists that are based in the diaspora play a huge role in pushing boundaries because, well, just by the simple fact that they are safer. You know? Would you like to speak to that a little bit? How is
Yeah,
your experience in New York, and what role have you played in pushing boundaries from there?
uh, what role I played in New York, or what role I played in Muslim countries?
I would say, as a queer filmmaker, what role did you play in pushing boundaries? You've also been named by Amnesty International a human rights defender. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is
Yeah,
it that you
hi.
did?
So I'll make it brief and not very tortuous. Jihad for Love, this movie that I did, was the world's first on Islam and homosexuality. But it was also a very controversial film because of exactly that. So there were years of death threats and so on and so forth. I do believe, and we have measured this through surveys through the years, um, especially UCLA. If you're in UCLA, that's where all our footage is now. Uh, the fact that we were able to use the medium of film to transform lives in a very real way, a way that could be measured. And I also did a film called Sinner in Mecca, which was filmed in Saudi Arabia, and it was filmed on an iPhone and pretty much edited on one as well. So it was not only the content uh, that helped people's lives, but also the form, the technique, the methodology, if you will, of making these work. I'm done.
Thank you, Parvez. So guys, I wanted to leave our audience with like a bit of hope for the future and bravery to keep telling stories that shake the table. And I would say, in my personal experience, after surviving making the wound, that I would do it all over again because it was really magical to see Black queerness represented, and they were the very people that stood up and made sure the film could exist because they said, "This is my reality. This represents me. This is my story." And I would like to encourage everyone to get out there and find stories that cause this kind of reaction. My Salon, over to you.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm glad to tell you also that I took the two side characters from the movie, and one of them was Saleh, the gay, the friend of the girls, and I took them to my TV show that's gonna be released then, like at the 11th of March, and I give him like he's an actor, and we work together with a very long process. I hope that you will get a chance to watch it. We are now in negotiations with all the platforms that we can sell it, of course, internationally. So this first time ever, a gay character in the front, main character in TV series in Arabic, in all the world. Nothing like happened before that, and we are very excited. And not just because of him, because all the it's called nafas in Arabic, and we are like looking forward actually to see the reactions after this time of like 10 episodes with a lot of stories, a lot of time with this like there is a Wardi, a very girl, like powered girl, and Kais, the cool guy from Barbahar, the friend of the girls also. And three of them are main characters in a genre like criminal dark comedy. So it's gonna be fun, a lot of fun, but a lot of I can say like pain inside that laughing.
Okay.
So this is my
We look for, what is the name of the series again? Is it Rafa?
nafas. Nafas. It's a breathe in Arabic, but it's also a joint in.
Okay. Wonderful. Look forward to that, especially on a Friday evening. Thank you. We are Edu.
Yeah, I can quickly tell you if you want me to.
Go for it, Parvez.
Yeah, so for the longest time, I was a professional homosexual. As an artist and as a filmmaker, everyone expected me to be the gay Muslim at everything and speak only about that. So I actually, I'm sorry, I wish I could have joined earlier, but I would have offered your viewers a different perspective, which was how I need to un-gay myself and un-Muslim myself to be able to continue creating a filmography that is not just, I was good for gay and Muslim. And in order to do that, I have kind of joined right now into the administration, doing work from the behind. And in the future, I want very much to be able to tell non-gay stories. I think it's an interesting thing when people who do not belong to communities make films about those communities. So yeah, so I'm working in politics now, it seems.
Okay. Thank you for that, Parvez. We are Edu. In closing.
So yeah, just from what he was saying, it's so amazing and that we all exist and we're doing this important work of telling these stories, and it's so timely as well. Almost as if all of a sudden everyone is making stories about this, and I'm just really grateful for that, pretty much.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
So I just feel that, like, I mean, Bollywood, of course, like Indian film industry is thriving, it's making a lot of films, but still there's not enough space for LGBTQ stories even now, even in 2021. And that's a sad thing. But also I would say that the global film community needs to focus more on the global queer South. And I don't see that much support when I go to film festivals in US or UK. I don't see I would say the support which a global queer South should receive. I hope that there's more support coming in terms of inclusion of films, inclusion of us in panel discussions like this. I'm happy we are finding a voice per se in the Sundance panel. So I just hope more opportunities exist so that we can voice our feelings and also talk about the work we've been doing. So, but really, thank you, OUTFEST and GLAAD, for making this particular panel happen. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Sveta, Parvez, Maya, Salon, and Uyayedu for joining us here this evening. Thank you, OUTFEST and GLAAD, for creating this platform for queer voices at the Sundance Virtual Main Street. It's been a pleasure to host you guys. Have a lovely evening, and thank you for tuning in.
And please stay safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.